Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. Today's video is going to be sold out palette alternatives. So a lot of these companies nowadays are putting limited edition on everything. I feel like they make something and it's absolutely gorgeous. People want to get their hands on it. They can't because it's sold out, it doesn't come back, and then you end up being a little bit salty about the fact that you couldn't get your hands on a certain palette. I felt that way about the Colored Rain palette, the Queen of Hearts palette. I absolutely wanted it so bad and I couldn't get my hands on it, and it just sold out so quickly and I was a little salty. So I thought that I would kind of take that anger or take my frustration out by making a video and showing you some of the alternatives that I've found so that you guys could get your hands on items that you're going to be able to make the same looks. I'm not saying that these are dupes. What I'm saying is that they are very similar in color and in range and in the way that they might perform. Also, they're very similar in tonality, meaning that if you open up one, the other one will have very similar or very distinct colors that represent the same palette. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. If you want to know what alternatives I came up with, just keep on watching. So the first limited edition palette that I have that I was really happy to get my hands on, but I know that a lot of people did not get their hands on because of one thing or another, is the Master palette by Mario. It looks like this. I was very fortunate to be able to get my hands on it. I love this palette. It's absolutely gorgeous. It has a lot of neutral tones to it. It does have a few pops of color, a blue and the green, and I just absolutely love this palette to death. I use it when I'm not filming because I know that a lot of people don't have this in their collection, so I feel bad about using it on my channel, but I think I found a alternative to this palette that has the same tonality. I do not have it in person, but I will put a picture right here for you. The alternative that I did find that looks very similar to this palette is the Sleek Makeup Storm palette. This palette retails for about $11.99, I believe, and I will link all of the palettes down below where I can find them. Not the limited edition ones because they're not available anymore, but the alternatives I will link in the description bar for you. Also, this palette is really beautiful. I have been looking at it online. I've watched a few tutorials with this particular palette, and a lot of the same tones in the Master by Mario palette is in this particular palette. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It has a lot of the same shade range, and I feel like you can do the same type of looks in both of these palettes. I'll go ahead and give you some close-ups so you can see what I'm talking about. Of course, there are some differences in this palette. The Sleek Makeup palette does have a darker black kind of gray charcoal color in here, and it does not have a light gray like the Master by Mario does. But in the shade range, again, you can see a lot of similarities. I think it's very good as an alternative if you did not get your hands on this particular palette. So the next palettes I would like to talk about that were limited edition, I believe, and will not be coming back that I know of, is the 25 A and B palette from Morphe. Those palettes were really popular, they were really hyped up, and they sold out so quickly that it was really hard to get your hands on. I don't believe that those palettes will be coming back. If they do, it'll be a miracle. But I do have an alternative. Again, like I said in the intro, it's not a dupe, complete dupe, and it's not a cheaper version. This is something that is just an alternative. And the fact that these cost $22.99 a piece, I believe, and you get 25 shadows. I did find one palette that does encompass both. Again, it is a limited edition product, but it is still available on the Violet Voss website. What I'm talking about is the Violet Voss Ride or Die palette. A lot of the tones that are in the A and B palette from Morphe are found in here, as well as like the Holy Grail palette from Violet Voss. That is a very similar tone to a lot of these Morphe palettes. Again, it is a little bit more expensive, but it is an alternative if you could not get your hands on the Morphe palettes. So as you can see, they do have the warm chocolate tones. They've got a little bit more of the cooler tones and the cream colors. It kind of encompasses a little of everything. This one does have everything you would ever need. It's got satin, shimmers, mattes, everything in here. It's got some really nice metallics in here as well. This one definitely is nice to have in my collection if I'm looking for any color. It is in this palette, and you can find similar shades in this palette that you can find in the A and B palette. So this one is $75 is what it retails for. The other ones I believe were $22 for both, plus shipping and everything else. You do get free shipping, I believe, with Violet Voss over a certain amount of money. So, I mean, take that into account. But I found that you can make the same looks with this palette as you can with the Morphe A and B. So the next ones that I'm going to go ahead and talk about are some limited edition collaboration palettes that, of course, you cannot get your hands on anymore. And again, these ones are very interesting to me because they are very tonally similar all the way across the board. And I don't know if anybody else has kind of noticed this because they've come out and there's so much time in between each palette, between these 3 different YouTubers, that you really wouldn't put it together unless you actually pulled them all out and were looking at them or were looking for tonality that was the exact same. What I'm talking about is the Jaclyn Hill original collaboration with Morphe. This is where she picked out her favorite colors from Morphe individual shadows and put it into one palette. It is very beautiful. I hardly ever reach for this, and I do not use it on my channel because you cannot get your hands on it anymore. But I found that a couple other limited edition palettes look very similar to this, and one of them is still available. So hopefully you can get your hands on that one and you can make the same kind of looks with that palette as you would with these other 2. So this one is really beautiful. It was one of the first collaborations that I got my hands on when I first started my channel. It has that really gorgeous green, some plummy colors, some nice neutrals, some transition shades. It's really well put together and it's very cohesive. What I found is that this palette looks very, very similar to a palette that came out from Morphe as well. And this one is the Morphe and Kathleen Lights palette that just came out. It looks so very similar as the Jaclyn Hill palette. It does have the green, it's got more of the cranberry shades, the nice soft transitions, and then the cream neutrals for the brow bone and the inner corner. It's just very, very similar in tone, and you can make the same look with both of them. The one that is available still and has exactly the same tonality, which is crazy because I keep buying the same damn palette over and over, is the Laura Lee Violet Voss palette. It looks like this, and they have changed the packaging so it's like holographic now, but the inside is exactly the same. Again, with the green, the nice cranberry shades, the nice transition shades here, and then the soft creams for your brow bone and inner corner highlight. It's insane to me that I did not realize this when I bought the palette. There are some differences, yes, but tonality and tonal similarities with the greens and the cranberries and transition shades and everything are almost spot on. This one is $45 and it is still available on the Violet Voss website. I would highly recommend, if you missed out on the Kathleen Lights and the Jaclyn Hill palette, to get your hands on this because it is extremely similar. The quality in this one is going to actually be better for the mattes than it would be in the Morphe palette, just saying. That's my personal opinion, but this guy is definitely very similar to the other 2 palettes. They have almost all the same colors in them and you can make the same eye looks. So that is an option for you. I really hate that I keep buying the same damn palette. I've got 3 of the same palette, but because it has a different name on it, I buy it because I'm crazy, but you know, whatever. So the last palette that I thought that I should speak about is one that I am very salty about, one that I'm very upset that I did not get my hands on, but there is a glimmer of hope. The Queen of Hearts Colored Rain palette is actually coming back. It's making a very, very limited return during the summertime, and I follow them on Instagram because I really wanted to make sure that if they restocked, that I was going to be the first in line to try to get one. So if you were salty about not getting one, this is going to be your chance. But let's say that you're just over it, you don't want to do the hype. At this point, you just have moved on with your life, unlike me. So there are some alternatives for you. I have noticed in my collection that I have 2 palettes that look very similar to the Colored Rain palette. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Caramel Melange palette from Zoeva. This palette has a lot of the same colors as the Queen of Hearts palette does. It's got the really bright orange, the purple, the really pretty caramely colors that are more on the metallic side, the cream brow bone shade, just some really pretty transition shades. It's got a lot of the same colors. Obviously, the Colored Rain one does have a few more shades, but I found that this one is something that you can make the same looks out of. It's really beautiful. It's got a lot of similar tones. But as I was going through my palette collection, I noticed if you were into the mattes in that particular palette, Zoeva also has a matte palette. And this palette actually has a lot of the same similarities as well. It's got some of the purples, it's got the orange, it's got some transition shades and the cream shades for your brow bone. This is amazing because they're all super creamy, super pigmented, and they have a lot of intensity to them. But what I noticed is when you put them together, like this, you get all of the same colors that you get in the Colored Rain palette. We will see if I can get my hands on this new restock during the summer. I will do a video maybe update and let you guys know, but these guys are my backup alternatives because they're fantastic. They're lower price and they are just amazing. They've got a ton of pigment, they've got some great intensity, and they work really, really well. I hope you guys liked this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. That will let me know that you are interested in me doing some more alternatives to sold out makeup. Also, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell for notifications of upcoming videos. We do have more dupe videos coming up, anti-hauls, product hauls, product reviews, all sorts of good stuff coming up. You don't want to miss out. And I love your guys' feedback, so if you want to see something specific, put it in the comments below. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.